Blues Hotel.
All right, Phil, thanks for joining us at the Blues Hotel, mate. How are you?
Yeah, really good, Calvin. Thanks for inviting us along.
Fantastic. Mate, just want to start off. How did you first discover the blues? What was were there any songs or artists that really got you hooked?
Yeah, well, look, I was probably into punk music when I was like in my teens, and then a mate introduced me to Muddy Waters, and there was this amazing. I don't know. I just felt like there was a real synergy between the sort of intensity. Yeah, I ended up buying. I don't know. It was like there was lots of different artists and stuff, but yeah, Muddy stood out, and Howlin' Wolf, and then Little Walter just blew me away, and yeah. And I just sort of got into it through mates, and it was cool.
And I take it Little Walter is the reason why you're the biggest harmonica player in Melbourne.
Well, I don't know about that. Little Walter, absolutely. I'd been listening to the blues and just going, and just loving it. But it was actually seeing Chris Wilson. I went along to this gig. It was like a folk trio, right? And I went along because a mate had said, be my wingman. And at this gig, they called this guy up on the stage, and there was this really big, imposing skinhead-looking dude. And I thought they'd called someone up, and the wrong guy was getting up because he didn't look like he should be there. He just looked menacing. And anyway, he jumped up, pulled a harp out of his pocket, and he just blew me away. It was just like, holy shit, what is that? And and that just made me go, wow, I've got to get some of this.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chris Wilson, made it real, and brought it home, and then and that was it for me. It was like, wow, I could never have imagined that I'd be ever playing, but that was when I wanted to. Yeah.
Did you ever get to meet Chris and discuss?
Yeah. He was a really interesting guy. He was a fantastic dude. I'd see his shows and have a chat with him after him and all. But I moved out to Dalesford out in Western Victoria, and I wrote him this letter one time, and I cheekily put my phone number on it, and he rang me. And he rang me.
Right.
And he said, next time you're down in Melbourne, drop around. Yeah, he gave me a microphone. It was unreal. He's a lovely, lovely bloke. Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. I would have loved to have been around at that point when he was there. I guess my thing with the blues, I haven't been that interested in the blues for that long. I was brought up on Johnny Cash, Elvis, the Beatles, Rolling Stones. My old man had a big thing with music, but I never really sort of clicked in my younger days.
Right.
So, all these, whether it be, B.B. King or Albert Collins or Chris Wilson, I would love to have had the opportunity to go and see those guys,
Chris was amazing because you'd see him and he could be he was a force of nature, and I think just seeing him was incredible. And sometimes you'd feel like there was a wall of sound, and sometimes it'd feel like there was just crystal clarity, just like there was nothing else but that note, hanging in the air. It was amazing.
Yeah. So with your playing and your singing, you've got that really raw, gritty, old school sound. Where does that come from?
Comes from your heart, mate.
Comes from your heart. That's what I was expecting to hear. That's exactly what I was expecting to hear.
It sounds like ridiculous to say it, but like I said before, like punk and blues and stuff, they all have this energy that's just like, I don't know, it comes from somewhere else, and it's like when you feel it, you feel it. And look, there's aspects of playing harp, which is around, the biomechanics of your lungs and your diaphragm and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think that everything comes from that sort of spirit and stuff.
So who were your main influences?
Little Walter is really obvious if you listen to me playing. Anything that comes out of an amplifier. I mean, Little Walter was the first guy really to get recorded playing in that way. So his influence is undeniable, and his creativity and his phrasing and songwriting was extraordinary. So yeah, Little Walters, some of the other guys I love to listen to is Howlin' Wolf. He's got, he's plays really simply, but his tone is beautiful. He plays unamplified, but it's extraordinary. And and I really dig Sonny Boy Williams and Sonny Boy too. I just love his musicality and the way he puts stuff together and stuff. Yeah, and look, as far as Australian players go too, I used to go out. I used to hunt down where Ian Collard was playing back in the day. His band was Checkerboard Lounge. That's right.
Checkerboard Lounge.
Yeah, so I'd go and see them, and I'd go and see them, and then I'd get all inspired, and I'd go and try and find a car park to sort of play and get that natural reverb sound.
Yeah, right. Unreal. Yeah,
but right. Some of the other guys that I love listening to, guys like Rick Estrin and William Clark and Charlie Musselwhite. Yeah,
right.
Probably names that are really familiar to many harp players. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And do you remember your first time playing at a gig?
Yeah.
What was it? What was it like? What was the experience like? Was it nerve-wracking? Was it?
Oh yeah, completely. I'm a bit of a weird mix of extrovert and introvert. So this sort of push of like now's your moment. Now you got to play, and also that pull away of being like, oh my god, I'm now exposed.
Mm.
When probably my first proper gig was playing out in a town called Blampede out in Western Victoria with a guy called Skip Sale. He's a really good Delta blues player, and back in those days, he was the first guy I saw that had like a resonator guitar. And he had three of them.
Jeez.
And he was the real deal. So playing with him, it was pretty daunting, I tell you what, as well as being in front of an audience.
How old were you?
I started playing when I was a bit later on. I was about 19 when I picked up the harp. And probably got serious when a few years after that. I would have been about 24, 25, maybe.
Yep.
But I played around Western Vic for a while in a few different bands, and then stopped for a bunch of years. And then, it's funny, there was always this sort of sense of, there's a mate in the ear going, hey, get into it, what are you bloody doing? And I ended up going along to a jam session one time and meeting a really good mate, Sam Wiley, Shotgun Sam. He's in Queensland these days. And
yes,
we spent more time talking and drinking and carrying on than we did playing. And we just became best mates instantly. Playing with him meant I have to play again. So
yeah, right.
Yeah. So he's very irresponsible for me doing all this stuff now.
Good influence.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So now you've been as we've just been, you've been a part of the blues scene for a bit now. How have you seen the blues scene evolve? Being around Melbourne, I think Melbourne's probably the biggest city in the country for blues.
Yeah. Look, when I started going and seeing gigs, I was going by myself because I didn't have that many pals that were that into it, sort of thing, and I was just keen as. But that was in the 90s, and it was actually before pokies came in, and then when pokies came in, a ton of venues just got shut down. They didn't get shut down; they just became money sinks from stealing money from poor people.
Out with the entertainment, in with the bloody pokies.
Yeah, that's right. So that felt like a real blow. But look, coming back to Melbourne after a bunch of years, it's a pretty good scene. Like, there's some good venues and that sort of thing. We've had some closures and stuff over COVID and all. But there's still, you can still go out and see a blues gig on most nights. And look, the quality of playing is awesome. There's some great bands around. Still some really good venues. There's a bunch of little bars and stuff around where there's still a real vibrant sort of feel to them.
Yeah. Yeah, the only real place I know of in Melbourne is obviously with the the Blues Appreciation Society there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
look, there's that on a Tuesday, and then Thursday there's another group called Hume Blues.
the Hume
There's
Blues
another
Club.
the mob out to the east, the Eastern Blues. There's a fair bit going on a Sunday. There's two other gigs. There's Stingo Blues, and then there's the Elwood Blues Club. So yeah, there's a fair bit of regular. They're all jammers,
Yep.
and most of them also have like a house band or a guest band. So on any of those nights, there's or afternoons, there's something to go and do. And then there's other ones as well. And yeah, I put a lot of it down to the fact that we've got community radio, we've got Triple R, we've got PBS, and you've
Yep.
got some really strong blues shows and blues presenters that really know their stuff, and they support the artists and the scene really well.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's a big rap for PBS and Triple R. They're awesome.
yeah. Triple R have been around since FM radio first started, weren't they?
I think Triple R was around in the late 70s and PBS around the same. They've both been going 40 years plus. PBS has more blues shows, though.
PBS has more blues.
Yeah. PBS has more blues shows, yeah.
Right. Who's the main guy on there that's got the podcast?
Well, there's the Juke Joint on a Sunday, but I think it's Wednesday, there's also Helen Jennings and Tom C and Ice. And then on a Thursday on Triple R, it was Max Crawdaddy. And then there's also Salty out in the peninsula sort of way. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, Salty Dog. That's him. Yep.
And Baz, what am I saying? And Baz also has a show out on Sunshine Radio on Tuesday night.
Yeah, right. So there's a fair few broadcasters out there that do host the blues.
Yeah, and they do a great job of supporting bands and supporting the scene.
No, fantastic. I think around my way here in Perth, I think there's a lot of controversy at the moment about music venues. I think they're still stuck in the COVID period.
Right, yeah. And what's the controversy?
Just that there's not a lot of venues that are that are hosting artists and that at the moment. I don't know. I mean, there are like wineries and breweries and places like that are hosting events. You go to clubs and that, and I guess the main thing is it's not really publicised enough.
It's funny, isn't it? Like, it does feel like. It was fascinating during COVID. There was figures around, how much entertainment, performing arts, provides not only economically, but to the life and the feel of a community and stuff. And then, as far as the decision makers were concerned, it was like.
That's it. Well, they pretty much shut Melbourne down, didn't they? Melbourne was pretty much non-existent.
Yeah, well, the lockdowns were pretty severe. As far as I'm concerned, I understood. As far as I'm concerned, I felt like, I get why.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It wasn't pleasant, but my I'm just thinking about my mum and my her generation and stuff, and it's like, it's probably a good idea to look after them as opposed to what they did in other parts. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Phil, let's talk about your debut album with the Wayward Aces. What sparked the?
Yeah, cool. Look, so COVID had happened, and there hadn't been a lot of. Obviously, there'd been no music and all, but I'd been writing songs. Yeah, I had a real urge. I wanted to play again, and I wanted to play locally. Before COVID. I had a band, Electric Blues Collective, that Sam and I had sort of started, and that was awesome. But that everyone's sort of from all over the state, and it just felt like that's really hard work.
Yeah,
and it was focusing on festivals as well. So I just wanted something more regular. I started playing with Paul Buchanan and the Voodoo Preachers, and that was brilliant. But each gig is a couple of hours away, and that was it makes practice a bit of a challenge.
It does.
Band practice is not something that you can just head out to after work.
Yeah, no.
So anyway, I was talking with Ben Weeks. He runs an institution called Blues Roulette in Melbourne, and he was like, come and join us, come and do a Thursday night. I needed a guitarist, and he said, well, I've got one in mind. And so he introduced me to Oscar, and Oscar Liddell, he's from New Zealand, and he'd only been in Melbourne a little while by then, and he was establishing his own stuff, but he also wanted, to play. Anyway, he's a young bloke, but he's old beyond his years, and his tone and his feel and his knowledge is incredible. So we played together for a Blues Roulette night, which is, guitar. Blues Roulette's basically bass and drums, and then the front man does everything else, right? So it's me and Oscar, and then Ben and Johnny on drums. And, we put a night together of material, and it was just fantastic. So it just felt really like it just really scratched my itch, right?
Yeah.
It was bluesy and had feel and it had tone. And Oscar and I, we were talking about Howlin' Wolf, and we found this, this tune, How Many More Years, and that just landed, and we were like, that's it, that's the feel. He knew a good drummer and called Will Harris, and Will has a real sense. When you play with Will, it feels like you're playing with Little Walter's drummer, Fred Bello, who had a real jazzy sort of background. And anyway, Will's got that same sort of thing. It's light, but it's intense, and it's really, it's a real listening sort of thing. It really comes from going, oh, what's that song got going for it? And then enhancing that in the rhythm. So we played as a three-piece for a couple of years, and then just in more recent times, we've been joined by another guitarist. Oscar is now playing bass, and we've been joined by Phil Leggett, and he's playing lead guitar, and that's, again, brought another dimension to it. So the Wayward Aces started out of this project of just needing to play more locally.
Yeah, right.
And finding the opportunity and then just chasing gigs. Yeah.
So with the album, most of the songs were original?
Yeah. I've been writing for years, but it's not been something that I saw as a thing that I do so much, it's just like a bit incidental. But then I found that I have some stuff to say.
Yeah, get it out.
That's it. Most of it's sort of like, it's all stuff that I've experienced and has made me laugh, It's like, oh my God, like, how could that be real? So, like, there's this song that I've got. It's called FU Blues. I won't go into the title any more than that. You get the picture.
Yep.
But it's the notion of I'm writing about all of this stuff that has happened in life that was shit house. And it was like, I'm looking at it going, oh my God, that's just chaos. And then I'm like, that's also boring. So then I thought, okay, well, I'll add some spice in there. And now, now the story of that song is everything's true but the lies. But for the lies.
Yep.
So it's like, so the writing for me is like, it's about telling stories, and it's about having, I don't know, like having a different view on things and not taking yourself too seriously, and but also writing stuff that sort of connects people, So like, we've all had bad times, we've all had difficulties, and sometimes those difficulties, the only way of dealing with them is to laugh about them.
Oh,
so, well, you might as well, because like,
that's it.
You want to move on from them.
Yeah. So
yeah, they're mostly originals, and then some in there that some of the covers are like stuff that just really resonates. That sort of the feel or the language or the lyrics or whatever are just so mighty, and they fit with the rest of the stuff that we've been writing.
Sure. So the album's obviously got some sort of theme to it.
Yeah. Well, so our last album, we had a jet fighter on the cover, just because, like...
Was that Sound and Fury?
No, so Sound and Fury was our EP, and that one, that one was great fun because what we were trying to do was capture this three-piece dynamic and also get a sound, a sonic sort of feel from the early 50s. Always loved that chess sort of sound, and that's what we were finding we were gravitating towards with our live gigs. So it was like, okay, well, let's get that onto ones and zeros because it's not onto wax anymore, is it? So anyway,
No.
so
Although it is coming back.
we went to this studio called Quasar, and that's it's all analog. So it's
Yep.
quarter-inch tape, analog discs, that sort of thing. Reel to reels and all. And he's got some beautiful microphones and gear. And so we did it live in the studio, and yeah, that was a great experience. And it came out really well. Then we kept writing, and we recorded the next one, which is our self-titled.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and again, mostly originals, and yeah, really. Again, we went to Quasar because it's a great place, and we knew the guy, and we loved his work. Yeah.
Cool. Now, one of the tracks I've noticed off your album is "Summertime Blues." That seems to be pretty.
That was.
Is that something that you enjoy playing?
I love it.
Yep.
It's got a bit of a hill country sort of feel to it. It's a boogie, so it doesn't follow a 12-bar sort of structure or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's got this energy to it, and the story is, for me, it's classic because I was due to play Ambass. We were releasing a single. I was between jobs, so I had a bit of time to go on a motorbike ride. My mum's birthday, my mum's 80th, was on the weekend. We were looking at a music festival on the Saturday. All this great stuff was lined up, and then I got COVID, and the sun was shining. Everyone was out having a great time. Everyone's decked up to the nines, and I'm at home, isolating myself, going, the only way I can deal with it is to laugh about it. So that song, I pinched the title off Eddie Cochran, "Summertime Blues," but it's about having COVID and going, this is shit.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually quite funny because when I read the article and your single was "Summertime Blues," I'm thinking that's not a blues song. What's going on there?
It's not.
Yeah.
No, that's not.
Yeah.
But we did get the beat and the rhythms and stuff, and our sort of the guitar and harp sort of syncopation that comes from sort of listening to hill country stuff.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Very, very much interesting. So, what is it about the blues that keeps you coming back to it? Is it just the feeling you get when you're on stage, or
for me, blues is about honesty, and it's about, blues came from, blues came from a time and a place and a people that, there was real suffering, and music and community was their response, and it's incredible music. You listen to it, and the power and the passion and the potency is just so evident. So that's what gets me. I just feel like when I'm listening to good blues, then it's it's saying something to me, and I'm moved by it.
Mm.
That's with the Wayward Aces or any band that I play in. I want to be doing that. I want to be saying something that has meaning and playing something that has power, and I want to reach people and move people.
Do you think that there's a new wave of appreciation for blues?
Yeah, it'll never go away.
Yep.
It's the same as I say. That sense of groundedness, for want of a better term. That sense of realness or whatever it is. There's something about blues that moves people, and that will always generate interest and drag people away from their everyday, and their Spotify or their DJs and stuff. We played a gig recently. It's in this bar called Transport. It's right at Melbourne, at the CBD where the train station is. And there's these louvered windows at the side, and so we're playing. People are all walking past and stuff. and young cats are coming in going, wow, and they're grabbing a beer and having a dance and all, and they're having a chat in the breaks, and they're saying, we're just walking by and just going, wow, what's this?
That's unreal, isn't it?
Good blues will always capture people's attention, and and even without realizing it, they'll be like, oh yeah, this is good. Why is my foot moving? Why am I clicking my thumbs? Oh, what's that thing? I can't help but move.
Jesus. Yeah. It's definitely a bit. I mean, you speak to some people and they they think, blues. What the hell is blues? But and then I guess these days too, it's like any genre of music. It's just getting broader and broader. It's not just the traditional blues anymore.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? It's weird to be. I find it weird that I'm in Australia. I'm half a world away from where this music originated. And it's and I feel it so strongly, so deeply. But I think that's the point. It's like it's human nature. It's this deeper sense that we've all got. It's a connection to rhythm and a connection to community and a connection to something. Wanting that connection with each other and having a way of expressing it. Yeah, I think you can hear how blues is taking on. There's sort of melody and that sort of thing that maybe wasn't there in some of the original stuff, but it's always sort of, blues was never a concrete construct anyway. It was always, different influences melding together and forming new things, and then that being changed again. And it's weird how, we've been given this gift. The world's been given this gift, and it's not like, hey, well, there's copyright on it, from here.
Oh. No, exactly. I mean, look, I've got a broad interest in music in general. Like I'll listen to country, I'll listen to rock, I'll listen to classical music. But as I say, it's each genre just gets broader and broader. I've got a keen interest in this. They call it country. I don't know if you call it country or not, but it's a group called the Moonshine Bandits.
Right.
They're a cross between country, hip hop, rap. They've been branded as the type of country music your grandparents wouldn't listen to. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's just amazing at where music started and where it is now.
Well, that's the thing about blues, Robert Johnson, probably one of the most preeminent blues guitarists. Blues was only a part of the thing that he did. He played music for people to dance to, and his interests were what's on the radio and what he liked and what people would pay him money for, and get him along to parties to play and stuff. So it's funny. There's music and then there's marketing terms that sort of they create to sell stuff to people and all. But look, the stuff, the music that we tend to like, that we play around Melbourne and we call blues. It's the thing I think is common is it's got a honesty to it. It's got an incredible beat and like I say, a real connection. Something that brings people together and it's joyous, right? It's coming together and just going, we're human beings, and and we dig it.
Yep. Each song tells a story.
Yeah, that's right. Not too much.
No, that's it. So, all right, Phil, just got one more question for you. Have you ever had a mishap with the harmonica on stage?
All the time. Every time.
All the time?
Every time I play. I've got these microphones. They're a customized thing. A mate in Ballarat has made them. His name's Darren Waitman. And basically, it's a shell of one mic and then the guts of another one. And and anyway, you plug a guitar cable into it, and then you plug the other end of the guitar cable into the amplifier, right? So anyway, here I am. I tend to get a bit active on stage. If I want others to be moved, then I've got to be moved. So I'm, jumping around, playing at the Blues Challenge at MBAS. This would be about 2017 or 2018. So it's all about a focus on performance and stuff. And I've launched into a solo, and I've lifted up, and as I've done that, I've stood on the cable, and it's gone pop.
Jeez.
So these days I play wireless.
Gosh, wow. Well,
Yeah.
so the harmonica has actually got you can actually buy harmonicas that will connect wirelessly, or is it a device or something you connect to your harmonica?
It's a wireless guitar. I'll show you something I had prepared earlier. Basically, there's a sender and a receiver, and so they connect on the sort of digital frequencies, and so that one takes the sound from the mic, and then that one hears it and pushes it into the amp.
Right.
This means that I don't step on my cables.
Right.
So yes, that's the worst of it, Kelvin. But harps. Or harmonicas, like when you play them, if you play it too hard, like if you breathe into it and you draw, so you blow and then you suck. If you blow too hard, it'll stop, and if you suck too hard, it'll stop. So there's always getting a balance between intensity and then playability as well. So there's often like bum notes and that sort of thing. But the mechanics of the harp. But more than anything, the mechanics of sending that signal to the amp. They're the things that bring out.
Right. All right. Well, Phil, look, it's been a pleasure with you spending the time to have a chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to let you go. Yeah, no, indeed. So, what's coming up next for you? Have you got anything planned for the next couple of?
Yeah. I've got so much to do and so little time.
I bet. Yeah.
We recorded the last show from the MBAS, so I've got an album that we're going to release in July. So we've got a couple of singles that are going to drop on that, and in the meantime, we've also written a bunch of new tunes, and I'm keen to record that as a sort of with the 4-piece. So that will be a really interesting project, trying to capture a different sound, and figure out what we want that sound to be like, So, it's good fun because, all these things take time.
They sure do. Yeah, definitely.
So,
Definitely. All right, Phil, again, thanks very much. And when I get back down in Melbourne eventually, I'll get in contact.
Come and join us on the Blues Train sometime.
Will do. Lovely. All right, mate, good talking to you, and we'll definitely have to catch up.
Thanks, mate. And look, for you and for your listeners and stuff, if you get onto our mailing list, that's where we share tunes that we're doing. But also we've got some sneak previews and sneaky videos and unreleased tracks that we sort of release to that mailing list too. So is
one of them the Triple R recording?
Yeah, PBS. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And we've got some more stuff coming out soon. So cool.
Lovely. All right, mate. Well, look, take care of yourself, and we'll definitely catch
up. Thanks so much, Calvin. Appreciate it. Good on you, mate.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
See ya.
Okay. Bye.
The Blues Hotel.